Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we're going to continue our coverage of the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. The fighting continues. As was misreported almost a week ago, in which it was stipulated that the Ethiopian National Defense Forces were rolling into Kombolcha and Dece, we can confirm, obviously, that is not the case. The Tigrayan Defense Forces are still in control of both Dece and Kombolcha and areas around Dece and Kombolcha, running in a northwards route towards Weldia up into the Tigray region itself. We've also seen some fairly insidious propaganda videos coming out of the Abiy loyalist side, the Abiy media, and what is happening is it would appear that ordinary citizens, ordinary ethnic Tigrayans, non-combatants, are being portrayed as prisoners of war, meaning that the video that is being shown of alleged prisoners of war taken by the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, taken by the Amhara militias, are in fact Tigrayan Defense Forces personnel, and we can confirm that those personnel are not TDF members, but ordinary citizens being posed as Tigrayan Defense Force members. And that is not a biased account. That is simply what is occurring. We also have some more information on the drone use that has been occurring over the course of the conflict. And if you remember, the first drone deployment by the Ethiopian intelligence agencies and the Ethiopian National Defense Forces were Iranian Mojahir 6 drones. And apparently, those drones simply did not work correctly once they were deployed along the battle zones. Apparently, the data links could not maintain connectivity with the control station to the actual Iranian drone, and more importantly, the optronics that were being used, the forward-looking infrared, was of fairly low quality and could not get a actual visual picture of what they were looking at. And then compounding that with the issue of the unstable data links, they just were something that really were proving not to be very effective. Then the United Arab Emirates started to deploy its Wing Loon drone directly to Samara and to the main Air Force base near Addis Ababa. At the same time, the Ethiopian National Defense Forces had also acquired the Wing Loon drone purchase directly from China. So you had Wing Loon drones being operated by Ethiopian personnel, being assisted by the United Arab Emirates. And then you also had Turkish TB2 drones that have also been recently deployed to the former state of Ethiopia. And we can confirm that as the Tigrayan Defense Forces proceeded southwest of Ashia Robot and were approaching Debri Burhan, we have started to see the more advanced TB2 drone being deployed by actual Turkish controllers on the ground in Addis Ababa. So again, it would appear that these drones are being used in a clandestine manner. Obviously, the Turkish contractors and Turkish military personnel are being sequestered where they cannot be seen. The TB2 drone is also being, again, operated at night where it cannot be seen by any form of media outlets or being photographed flying in the air. And the reason for that is obviously the TB2 drone is a Turkish drone, but it is also a NATO supported drone, meaning there are many NATO countries' technology inside of that drone. So, for instance, the optronics are Canadian optronics, the engines are Austrian engines. So, again, if these European nation states, Canada, or to become aware that a drone that was to be used for NATO purposes, and that equipment, the optronics, the engines, were purchased under the guise of NATO use, are then deployed into Ethiopia to fight a civil war. That could definitely cause some issues for Turkey, and that's why we're seeing these drones being utilized in a clandestine manner by intelligence agencies at night. Now, obviously, the Wing Loon drone is a different story. That can be purchased directly from China. China does not directly support those drones with personnel on the ground, allegedly. However, the United Arab Emirates have had personnel go to China, become very, very well versed on the deployment of the Wing Loon and the precision guided munitions that the Wing Loon is able to employ the Chinese munitions. And then obviously those systems are now being utilized by the Ethiopian Intelligence Agency and the ENDF against the Tigrayan Defense Forces and against the Oromo Liberation Army itself. But as the TDF continued southwest towards Debre Burhan, and as I discussed in a previous video, we would see the Tigrayan Defense Forces get closer to the center of gravity, center of power near Addis Ababa, and indeed we started to see the more frequent use of both the TB2, the Wing Loon drone, and we really can't discuss much about the Iranian drone, as apparently it just simply, for whatever reason, does not work very well in Ethiopia. Now, does that mean that that specific drone is just a complete failure? No, because obviously we've seen it work in some other places, but for whatever reason, there has been some difficulties with the deployment of those Iranian drones in Ethiopia. But right now, we're starting to see a strategy shift inside of the Tigrayan Defense Forces, and in all likelihood, they are right now, in terms of a direct frontal assault against Addis Ababa, given the nature of the deployment of the drones. They're probably going to start utilizing a different strategy in this conflict, a more asymmetrical strategy. And as I talked about before, that this conflict could now last for years. And then we look at different sorts of asymmetrical strategies that the Tigrayan Defense Forces and the Oromo Liberation Army could quite possibly start to utilize, especially in terms of the continued collapse of the Ethiopian economy. As the war continues, less and less nation states, less and less Western nation states are going to want to economically invest in the former state of Ethiopia. And that is probably one methodology that the Tigrayan Defense Forces are going to continue to focus on, and that is both a war, an economic war against the former state of Ethiopia, but also certain asymmetrical strategies that I believe we will soon start to see being deployed by the Tigrayan Defense Forces in the Amhara region. We saw some of those asymmetrical strategies being deployed in the Tigray region during the initial occupation by the Eritrean army and the Abiy loyalists, which occupied initially much of the Tigray region before the Tigray region could fully mobilize. But again, as one side changes its strategy and starts to introduce high-tech drones, and obviously the other side will start to evolve and change its strategy as well. And we could start to soon see that on the ground inside of the current combat zones near Dec, Kambalcha, and other areas of the country. Again, the Tigrayan Defense Forces still maintain a very significant, robust, and large force, still capable of conducting offensive operations, be it as they approached Addis Ababa, that the drone issue became more of an issue as they got closer to that center of gravity and that center of power, and we started to see more of the TB2 drones being utilized, and of course, obviously, the Wing Loon. But again, we are hearing that renewed operations could in fact start fairly soon by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Again, there still continues to be a significant presence in the Amhara region. There's still a significant presence of Tigrayan Defense Forces numbered in the tens of thousands around Dec, Kambalcha, and other areas. We understand that Weldia and Mersa is now fortified, and any advance by the Ethiopian National Defense Forces near Weldia and other areas around Weldia, in fact, could result in fairly intense urban combat. But again, we're going to continue to monitor the situation and bring you more content for your consumption, fact-based information that is occurring on the ground, backed by real, unbiased analysis. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you soon.